Hello everyone, my name's Katie and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first ever video. I'm 34 years old, I've got 3 children, I'm married, and recently as a family we have finished paying off £27,000 worth of personal debt. So today I'd just like to give you a little bit more information about how we did that and see if there's anything that you can take from this to help you if you're in any kind of debt. And also I'll just briefly touch on a few things that I'd like to go into more detail about in future videos. If there's anything that you'd like me to talk about to do with personal finance, then let me know and I'll certainly dive into that in a bit more detail. So first of all, I'd just like to say kind of that I've always been in debt throughout my whole adult life. From the age of 18 I got a credit card, and since then I've had some form of debt at all times up until this year. So this is the first time in my adult life that I've been debt free apart from the mortgage. So a couple of years back in February 2018 I was watching a YouTuber talking about setting goals for the new year, and she just mentioned something about always to set a financial goal for the year, and that's something that I'd never done, so I found that quite interesting, and it's kind of led me down a bit of a personal finance path. And I decided to add up all of the debts that we had, and I was really shocked that we had that much. I did think that we had quite a bit because I knew how much the minimum payments were, but I didn't expect it to be that much, so that was quite a big shock. So once I'd done that and I totaled up all the debt, I then decided to look at where our money was going. So to do that, it was kind of like a spending analysis, and that just involved me printing off all our bank statements for the last couple of months and just going through them to see where the money was going. And for us it was definitely death by a thousand cuts. There was lots of little purchases made a good few times a week, and that was mainly from going to the shop for one thing and coming out with lots of other things that you don't really need. So it was £10 here, £20 there, but that was multiple times a week, and that was really scuppering the budget. There wasn't really anything major that we were overspending on that I could see in the beginning anyway. It was more to do with the fact that we were on a relatively low income and we had relatively high debt repayments, and that was like the main issues for us. So one of the things that I decided to start doing was to cut the costs that we had for the family. So anything that was unnecessary to a degree, we tried to either cut it out or reduce it. So things like Sky TV, we were able to cancel that after a while. Once we'd got streaming services like Netflix, we didn't really watch Sky TV anymore, so that was an easy one to get rid of. Also trying to reduce our food bill, which is the biggest expense really aside from our mortgage for us. And the way I did that was usually through meal planning, taking inventory of what was in the cupboards, and trying to use up everything that we had first of all, and also making lists, you know, planning the meals, making the list and only going into the shop for those items. So we'll go into a bit more detail about meal planning and things, because I think that's a really big expense for a lot of people. So I'm hoping to make an entire video just about that, but just for now that's one of the things that we did. Another thing that we tried to do was to increase our income. So the way that I did that was to dive into a couple of little different things that could help to either pay the debts or pay for treats and things that were not really in the budget, but I knew we would probably spend on those. So it just allowed that little bit of wiggle room. And I tried survey apps, which some of those were quite successful. I also done a bit of match betting, and I also decluttered a lot and sold a lot of items that we no longer wanted or needed, and done a couple of car boot sales as well to get rid of that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't say that we had a massive side hustle or anything, but we did try to increase the income a bit, and it worked. We made a good few £100, I would say, by making a bit of extra money, which just made it a little bit easier because our income to debt ratio was quite tight. So another thing that we done to pay the debt off was to implement a strategy to clear it. So what we did was what's known as the debt snowball method. You may have heard of that, but if you haven't, it's more of a behavioural method to pay debt off rather than a mathematical one. So simply put, you list your debts out, smallest balance to largest balance, and you focus on the smallest debt to begin with. So any extra money that you have, anything that you can cut from the budget, you put towards the smallest debt, and then you make minimum payments on all the rest. Once that smallest debt is cleared, the minimum payment that you were making to that one rolls over to the next one. And you then concentrate on that one, throwing anything extra at that. The minimum payment for that one rolls on to the next one, and so on, until eventually when you're at your largest debt, you're making quite large payments towards it. And for us, our final debt that we needed to clear was a personal loan, and by the time we cleared that, the minimum amount that we were making payments to that was over £900 a month. So that tells you kind of how much our minimum payments were for all of the debts to begin with. We had 10 debts in total to begin with. Some of them were, really small, but others quite big. So the debt snowball, I would say, was very effective for us. It's not for everyone, but I certainly needed that kind of behaviour change, and that just gives you those quick wins. You feel motivated that the amount of debts that you have are going down, and when you clear that first one, it's just a really good feeling, and it inspires you to keep going. It gives you motivation to keep going to pay the rest off. So that's definitely something I would consider doing if you have multiple debts, is to look into the debt snowball. Another thing for me that allowed me to finish kind of the journey that I'd started on was to keep myself accountable, and the main way that I did that was I set up an Instagram page, which is called How to Eat an Elephant. The reasoning behind that is that I feel that you can achieve anything if you do it one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that really held me accountable. I got loads of inspiration from other accounts on there, that people in a similar situation that were paying debts off, and it's just really inspiring because there's always someone that's got lower income than you, more commitments than you, and they're able to just smash the goals. So that was a really big factor in making me finish. I wanted to get that final post out there after having the Instagram page for a couple of years to say, we are now debt free. So moving forwards for us, our goals this year are to buy a car in cash. So we currently have a lease car which we were not able to pay off because it doesn't belong to us when we were paying the debts off. So the lease is due to finish in around May or June. So our next goal is to try and save up to buy a car in cash so that when the lease finishes we can give that back and we've no longer got a car payment. So at the beginning of the journey we had a small emergency fund of £500, and after a few months we increased that to around £1,000. Now we want to try and achieve a 3 to 6 months of expenses emergency fund. So I think we're going to aim for around £5,000, but I'm not too sure just yet because some of the expenses are changing at the moment, so it might be a bit more or a bit less than that. But that's the next things what we're hoping to achieve, so I'd love to share that with you. And like I say, if there's anything that you'd like me to cover, go into a bit more detail about, let me know. I'm going to be making hopefully a few more videos all about personal finance, budgeting, saving, diving into a little bit of investing, looking into that, and also a lot of mindset work, which I'd like to go into more detail about, changing your mindset when it comes to money, changing your behaviours. I think that's a massive thing that we don't really get taught about, but I've learned so much about that I'd love to share it with you. So I'll leave it there for now, but thanks for watching anyway, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!